what was expected out of the wife today is very different than what was expected out of a wife 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and same with the husband. And I think the thought of expectations now needs to be an open conversation.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes, knowing bigger hands are holding us, and the greatest days are ahead of us, growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, so glad you've joined us for Better Us. Welcome to our home.
Okay, so when we got married, I think it's safe to say we all had expectations, right? We're a team now, and we're both going to work hard to make our home the best it can be in every way.
Absolutely, it sounds good on the surface, but is that realistic? Comedian Michael Jr. and his wife Ebony have something to say about that. And you know what? Their take on it just might surprise you.
And the guys of A Better Us are in the workshop, again focused on home improvement. And this time we're drilling down into the question, what exactly is meant by biblical leadership in the home?
Our kitchen couples are also here and ready to go. It's going to be a good show, so stay with us.
Hey, you guys, we got a question here. I love the heart that this comes from. The question is, how do I serve my spouse? How do I have kind of this servant attitude in marriage? They're kind of saying, I've heard about this. How does that really work? You guys actually put this into practice. Shed some light for us, would you?
We don't have expectations because we serve from a servant's heart. And when you serve from a servant's heart, you do things because you want to, and because that's who you are, and that's just how you show up, and you do it without anything, expecting anything in return. And so it makes the relationship less transactional and more service oriented. So even though my husband knows that I like to keep a clean house, I don't expect him to clean. And if he does clean, it's a cherry on top. And so when we perform or when we're working that way, when all the expectations kind of go away, then all the frustrations go away as well. And then there's this reciprocal thing that happens when you're not expecting somebody to do something all the time, that they actually start doing the things that you would love for them to do anyway, because they want to serve you as well.
Yeah, we really stumbled on this too, by the way. Like, we didn't know we were doing this. We were just getting along really well. And then through some understanding and even listening to some other pastors, we just started realizing, snap. And talking to some friends, we could see how they were expecting things from the other one. And we don't have that. So Les, if I gave you $100 right now, well, for Les, you got money. If I gave you $1,000 right now, you'd be like, yo, thanks for the $1,000 and be excited about it. But if you're expecting me, if I already owed you $1,000 and I gave it to you, then your attitude towards it would be like, well, yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, gratitude goes down.
So I don't get the joy of giving you the money, and you don't get the joy of receiving it because you're already expecting it. But if you remove as many expectations as possible, then it gets really, really kind of cool.
Yeah, so we're let's be honest, we're all human. We're going to have expectations. Hey, you said you were going to pick me up after this event, and you weren't there, and a half hour went by. I was expecting you to be on time. We have those moments, but you're saying as a general disposition, to have that servant attitude, yes, the expectations that you put on your spouse, it's how can I kind of outserve them, right?
Yeah.
And giving them the benefit of the doubt. If they're late, maybe something really important came up. Like, instead of assuming that you put me second.
Especially with women, because women sometimes, from what I hear, they have some hidden expectations, meaning they don't even talk about it. They just want you to know magically what they're expecting. I'm blessed when my wife doesn't do that at all. I'm like, I don't know how to read your mind. I don't even read the mail. Like, I can't do all of that. So that's how we kind of roll with that.
Well, I think that goes across the genders, right? I mean, we all have this thing that we want to expect the other person to read our mind. If you really love me, you know what's going on in my head. And of course, that's totally unrealistic. You guys, thanks for your wisdom, as always, here at Love.
No, this was better than expected. It's great.
Welcome to the kitchen. Great to have our kitchen couples with us. We got Mike and Diane Clemens, Eric and Kara Maines.
Yeah.
And this is great being around the island.
Yeah, and this is a really good topic, but you know what? I have a confession, you guys. I kind of struggled with this one at first because on the surface it sounds great, right? But really, underneath the surface, I mean, you do expect some things from your spouse. I mean, Eric and Kara, you guys, you are in the diaper stage, right?
Yes.
Like, Kara, you've got to expect some diaper changes from this guy. Like, come on.
Yes, the thing that I was working through when we were listening to this, which is a great teaching, but I was thinking that we all go into a marriage with an expectation. We all think about what will our perfect spouse be like, what will our marriage function like, and then you get into the marriage and then everyday life happens and you begin to realize the capability or the capacity of your spouse. I also think that sometimes we have our hidden expectations, and in today in our culture, I think that is shifting a little bit. What was expected out of the wife today is very different than what was expected out of a wife 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and same with the husband. And I think the thought of expectations now needs to be an open conversation, because I don't have the capacity. I can't stay home with the kids anymore, or I can't make all of our meals because I'm working full time just as much as Eric. And so our expectations for each other look a little differently because of the capacity of where we're at today.
Yeah, the Wrights in that teaching mentioned how they're in their season of life they can actually have a zero expectations on each other. Where when we heard that, we look at each other, it's like we're kind of we're living in a point of exhaustion right now, and so yes, I have lots of expectations. But it was a great teaching, but definitely everything you said is just we're coming from a point of exhaustion sometimes. As you said, we're in the diaper stage and also potty training stage, but
it reminded me of the scripture of wives, submit to your husbands as you do to the Lord, and husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I think it's the posture of your heart and the expectations and about serving each other in that.
So
As Christ loved the church, that's pretty much all in service, right? That's a servant's heart big time. It's sacrificial.
That's good.
Well, the way I saw it is opportunities, right? And so for me, I have opportunities, and so I don't want to meet my wife's expectations or have it. I want to exceed, right? So in saying that, right, the real goal for me is it's not about an expectation. Right, it's about an opportunity, right, to enrich my wife, to give value, and that could be as simple as bringing home something with just on a quick errand. You want to run a quick errand, you bring something extra home, right, or as complex as getting something that she's wanted for a long time. One of those things you have to wait for, and so. So in this, the expectation, I can kind of get over the idea of no expectations, but I would rather sort of live in the realm of, I don't want to try to meet the expectations. I want to exceed them, right? And so what I see is opportunities on a daily basis to value my bride, right? And so that was my thoughts.
I like that.
I like that.
Go ahead, Kara. Go ahead.
I was just thinking too, on the opposite end, I think people need to realize that when we lay out our expectations together as a spouse, it's not nagging. And so I think sometimes we can see expectations as us nagging our spouse into doing something or acting a certain way. But I think if you have that open communication, they are different.
Yeah. And I love what they said about the giving and receiving. And a lot of times we want to give expecting to receive something in return.
right.
Right? But it's not about that. Right? You give. And then when you receive, that's great. Right? So we have to understand that sometimes we're all different. Yeah. I'm different from Michael. He's different from me. And he knows that I love a clean house too.
Yeah.
But I understand that you know, that's not his thing, right? That's not, he's, you know, he can help me when he's, you know, able to help me, or, but I don't mind cleaning. I don't mind doing those things, right? And I do it out of the kindness of my heart. I don't expect him to say, "Oh, yay, babe, thank you for." No, that's just what I do, right? Because it's in me to do that, right? And there are things that he does for me, right? So it's that giving and receiving that we have to do.
So not transactional, like not you scratch my back, then I'll scratch yours. Like that's the transactional thing, right?
Yes.
In fact, when we do some marriage seminars, we'll say to the guys especially, you know, if you see your wife doing something around the house, maybe she's at the kitchen sink, maybe one of their top needs is a soft, non-sexual affection. So we say, why don't you just go up and kind of scratch her back, just unexpectedly, just a light little touch, and not expect anything in return, right? And so that's kind of like gold to her.
Yeah, it is. It is. And resist the urge for your hand to go south.
That's right. Yes.
We always say that
I
too,
usually
because
add
there's
that,
no
too.
expectation. But the bottom line is having a servant heart, right? You mentioned about, you know, husbands love your wives like Christ loved the church. If we all want to model Jesus in our home to our spouse, a servant's heart is a big part of that. And that's the bottom line. And so, yeah, it's good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so this was, as Michael Jr. said, better than expected. Our kitchen discussion. And so stay with us. You can expect more coming up.
All right.
As husbands, it's not about us. It's not about what we think we need. It's not about our egos. It's huge. It's not about our pride. It's about our willingness to just come to our wife and our kids in humility and say, look, my job is to just create this environment that ultimately is going to let you be the best version of yourself you can possibly be.
Hi, Ron and Ann here, and thank you for your interest in A Better Us.
Today, more than ever, we all agree there's a vital need to protect and strengthen marriages and families.
You know, that's our goal through our A Better Us media ministry, live events, quality resources, and personal marriage coaching.
We want to inspire and equip couples everywhere toward a healthy, Christ-centered marriage.
A Better Us is a production of a nonprofit charity that we lead, and as we all know, it takes a team to get the job done.
And we need you to be a part of our team in order to sustain and grow this ministry.
The best way you can help us is by joining our monthly partnership program.
$35 a month will make a big difference in providing hope for many marriages. Simply visit abetterus.tv today and click donate.
Yeah. And when you sign up monthly, we'll send you 2 of our A Better Us coffee mugs to say thanks.
Most of all, you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that your investment is strengthening marriages and families around the world.
Thank you so much. Hey, welcome to the workshop, where just the guys of A Better Us are getting together, and we're talking a little home improvement here. And so, of course, we have Mike Pinball Clemens here, we have Dan McCauley, we have Eric Maines, and we're thrilled to have joining us from the beaches of Florida, where you usually see the segment called On the Beach with Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike, Bronces Valley.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
We needed a psychologist with this group here
I'm starting a
to
file
help
on
us.
everyone here today.
Well, all of our lives and all of our marriages from time to time, we need a little renovation here and there. And so we certainly can relate to that. And so we're looking at some topics in the workshop here that can help us guys kind of focus on some areas maybe where we can have some home improvement, right? And so, Dr. Mike, why don't you kick us off, maybe drill down with the topic, and then we'll have some fun with it.
So I thought we'd start today, guys, by something it's pretty relevant for everybody that's married, and it's the idea of what it really means to be a leader. That's our calling, right? We all know that, but I can't tell you how divisive this gets in the therapy room. So I'm a clinical psychologist. I do marriage counseling, and guys, I got to tell you, there are moments where I'll have a guy come in, And man, he comes in, pinball. He's confident when he comes in. He's marching in like, I know how this is going to go because I'm the leader.
Yes.
I know Mike's a Christian. I know he believes the Bible, so he's going to support me in this. It's good. And man, it is wild what happens when they start to talk about what they feel like the role of the leader is. For them, the role of the leader is, I make the decisions, I call the shots. It's essentially, they feel like it's unquestioned authority. Like, I'm supposed to, what car are we going to buy and where are we going to invest our money and where we're going on vacation? I'm the leader, so follow. It's awesome. They're excited about this. So what I typically do in that situation is I take out the Bible. It's a super cool thing, right? Because then I don't have to spoil it. I take out the Bible and I start reading the Bible. What I typically read, I wrote it down here, is Ephesians 5, because that's where we get the idea of headship, right? So the headship in the home is in Ephesians 5. The Apostle Paul's talking and he says, for the husband is the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, also should wives submit to their husbands in everything. They're loving it, right? They're kind of standing up. Oh yeah, yeah. They're standing up a little bit taller in that seat. They're ready to go. Then it says, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church, and gave himself up for her. Wow. So now we have like the idea that we're called to be the head. That is absolutely true. But what it means to be the head, if you follow the example of Christ, is that there's going to be moments where you're going to lay yourself down for her, just like Christ laid himself down for the church. And the metaphor there, that word head in Scripture, is a lot like the headwaters of a great river. So I drive to Orlando from my home in Merritt Island, Florida all the time. I go over this little bridge, man. This thing is not, it's about from me to Eric, right? And right on that sign, it says Shingle Creek, the headwaters of the Florida Everglades. It's this little stream, yet everything that grows in the Everglades, all the wildlife, people come from all over the world to study it. It's so rich and full of life. It's sustained by the headwaters of Little Shingle Creek. And so what it means to be a head is to be the source of everything that grows. And so for us as believers, man, my job is not as a husband to run my wife's show. My job is to create environments that it's going to make her more passionate about this God that loves her. It's going to make her more emotionally aware and healthy. And that's ultimately the force of what it means to be a leader.
Good stuff. Woo. Guys, let's jump in on that one.
Wow, there's a lot there.
Yes. In our house, I designate myself as the head servant. Right.
Yeah.
So that is what my job is. I am to care for my wife, right? Care for my bride, as I called her, and I really love this idea, right? I believe that a great leader makes himself dispensable. And so instead of making all the decisions, right, you empower the family, right, to make the decisions, right, that are best for the family. And the more you work together and understand each other and do those things, actually you can remove yourself from the picture. Right, and that's in general leadership as well. When we talk about leadership at work, right, a great leader again makes himself dispensable. You can remove him, right? He goes on vacation, everything doesn't fall apart, right? Yes. So I'm really just excited about having you here today, and that explanation, that was so palpable, so real.
Well, thanks, man.
When I think about headship, I was thinking, the head goes first. So, and there's a risk associated with that. So I've been recently binge watching old 24. Remember that show 24 with Jack Bauer, right? And so there's all these chase scenes, and when you're chasing someone who's got a gun or whatever, they're behind a corner, and then they pop their head out and have a look to see what it is. So the head goes first. There's an element of risk there that your head's, you know, in the line of fire, but the head goes and then the body follows. And I think there's a covering, there's a protecting in that. I think it really symbolizes kind of the opposite of the guy who's checked out, whose life is about, you know, their work, their sports, their hobbies or whatever. The difference is that the covering and care, the headship, and when they're providing that kind of protective, head goes first, like I'm going to sacrifice myself for you, that kind of covering, everyone else in the family is able to thrive and function a little bit better because they know that they have that kind of covering. And I think in the protecting, it's a little bit even more than the guy's idea of, well, I'm going to take a baseball bat and protect my family from, you know, this intruder into the home. No, actually, in our everyday context, the Bible says that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. Right. And so I think our headship, in a way, in that protectoral covering, is really setting the tone in prayer and really covering our family that way. And when we're doing that, I think everyone else under that kind of overarching protection can thrive a little bit better.
Good. I like that.
And there's so much today that's like beating down masculinity, like as if every form of masculinity is toxic. I think that's totally wrong. But there's a masculinity that says, I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. The head goes first.
Excellent.
I'm learning a lot. I'm sitting here the least amount of married years under the belt, but yeah, like I do see how my mindset has changed over the years. I did think that when I first got married, I did think, okay, well, I'm now the man, I am the head, and I am going to set the priorities and the goals, and we're going to move forward, and I'm going to make these decisions. And now, like, Kara and I have these conversations all the time. I really just want to be a husband and father that honors God, but also raises my family in the way of Jesus, in the way of God. And so we're trying to have that conversation, but at the same time, like, ideally, yes, I am going to bring priorities. I'm going to bring goals, and we're going to have these goals we're going towards. But then realistically, I keep getting in the way. You know what, like my laziness, my pride, my anger, like it gets in the way. And then at the end of each day, I really just kind of hope that I net positive at the end of that day. Just like, Kara, let's debrief. I know I flew off the handle of the kids at this one point, but do you think we net positive? Do you think we came out on top today? Sometimes the answer is yes. So yeah, I'm learning a lot in this conversation. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, each of us have kind of had the idea, well, maybe early on, and maybe there's some misconceptions that, you know, the leader, you put the hammer down, man, and that's, here we are in the workshop, put the hammer down, or maybe it's more like a gavel, right? Like a kind of a hammer that you know, I'm the judge and I make the decision.
Order in the court.
Order and
You're in good
and
time.
so yeah, but one guy said, yeah, I run things at home, and then he went on further, said, yeah, I run the dishwasher, the washing machine, and no, but anyway, that's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But no, some think you have to be this bossy, dominant dictator to be a real leader in the home. But as we're all saying here, no, and the Apostle Paul and Jesus kind of flipped the whole leadership paradigm upside down on its head to say, no, if you want to be the greatest, you be the servant of all, right? And so marriage is a great training ground to become like Jesus. Right? How can I be more like Jesus? How can I be more of a servant and be the one? It doesn't mean leadership that you get the comfy chair and the remote control and, you know, you're in charge. No, you get to be the one who is responsible for the well-being of the home, and you're the head waters. Like you want to take care of everyone else first, even before yourself.
And that's a weighty responsibility. That's a big thing. Yeah.
That's Jesus, sacrificial servant leader who nourishes and cherishes his wife and his home, and that's really the best way to go. That's the aim. That's our goal.
Yeah, it's interesting as we're talking, because what I hear us talking about is ultimately the expression of a deep humility right? Like you lead out of humility. That's what, and not humility in the sense of I'm not good enough, or humility in that sense of strength. Like Christ, literally God, takes his robe off, sits down in front of his disciples, starts washing their feet. What an example of someone who's laying himself down. It's not about me. As husbands, it's not about us. It's not about what we think we need. It's not about our egos. It's huge. It's not about our pride. It's about our willingness to just come to our wife and our kids in humility and say, look, my job is to just create this environment that ultimately is going to let you be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. Now that, to me, is leadership.
Awesome. Good stuff, guys. Yeah. I love it. Really good stuff. And I hope you're enjoying that too. And stay with us. There is more A Better Us to come. We're in the workshop. Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage even better.
Right. And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here. So keep exploring.
Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way all the time. On today's show, we've dealt with some issues that every couple needs to come to terms with: our expectations in marriage and what it means to be a leader. And neither are what you might have thought.
As Dr. Mike said to us guys, our responsibility as leaders isn't to lord our will over everyone, but to create an environment for our family to grow and thrive. That's a true leader.
I love that, because then it gives your wife, your teammate, your partner in all things, a safe and respected place to be all that God has designed her to be.
And then during our conversation about expectations in marriage, I love how candid everyone was, because let's face it, we usually wake up in the morning with certain expectations of our spouse, right? But instead, what if we turned it upside down and look for what you can give and not what you expect to get? That servant attitude sweetens the atmosphere and reduces a lot of stress.
And really, that is a whole shift in how we naturally think. But the good news is that you don't have to rely on what comes naturally. God offers to give you his supernatural power to live a selfless life, if you'll only let him.
Right. Maybe the idea of inviting God into your marriage is a new concept for you. Maybe you've never even considered the fact that you can look outside of yourselves for help.
Well, we can tell you from experience that as we have done our best to surrender daily our wills to God, he's given us the wisdom and the strength that we need to make our us the best it can be.
And you can too. There's a phone number on your screen that will connect you to our prayer lines, where you'll find a caring person who would love to pray with you. That number is always available for you 24/7.
Thank you again for joining us. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann Maines here, and we are so glad you're with us here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
And we pray God's blessing on your marriage as you take this in.
And be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
And enjoy this video.